In a world so divided on issues that have a profound effect on humanity, how can we possibly help people to see that all human life is valuable?
And that all of these life issues are connected. It may feel overwhelming, but you are not alone.
Welcome to Consistent Life Network's Peace and Life Conversations podcast, where we will explore the journeys and thoughts of activists and everyday people of all generations who are working for the protection of all human life and promoting the consistent life ethic.
We are talking to Tony Massalones about something called CL Kids.
We're going to have a series of episodes specific to the CL Kids topic. We have an interview with youth activists talking about what it's like to be a young person advocating for the consistent life ethic in today's climate.
So I found the first thing that kicks off youth activism is passion, this care for other humans, for wanting their circumstances to be improved and for the individuals themselves to be empowered. It's the ability to care about a cause or situation that's larger than yourself and be willing to sacrifice to make things better.
Do your part in changing the world for the better by working on a problem that you care a great deal about, as Sonia spoke on.
You cannot be an activist without having this drive.
I'm passionate about life ethics, as I told you before.
Consistent Life Network's mission is to uphold the consistent life ethic from conception to natural death through education and advocacy, rejecting the cycle of violence toward all life. Particularly, we oppose war, abortion, the death penalty, euthanasia, racism, and poverty.
So my father was sentenced to death when I was 6 years old.
The second thing is to really distinguish between what's termed as slacktivism and true activism.
A big part of activism is about talking less and listening more. It's about difficult conversations. And I think you need a thick skin because people are not going to always agree with you, and you can't take things super personally.
So you have three men committing this robbery that turns to a murder, and a lot of things happen throughout the trial. We refused that plea deal.
Part of our series on CL parenting, where we're going to be talking with David Cruz-Uribe and his wife, Gabrielle Cruz-Uribe, on how they brought up their own kids to live and love the consistent life ethic.
You know, we talked about it and we could think of very, very few examples where we sat down and did something really pedantic or didactic. Like, we're going to teach you about the consistent life ethic today. I think it was just part of our lives, and we incorporated our kids into our lives and brought them along when they wanted to participate, and just made it an organic part of being a family.
And that we weren't necessarily driven by popular opinion. You know, you listen to your heart and you make your own decisions and you look at all of the possible sources of information and what's going on, and then you live your best choice, you know. But you can't go by, you know, what's the hot topic on TikTok.
And in link to that, basically, is the idea of understanding your humanity in common with others. We are all made equal by our shared human dignity and our shared ability to exercise our basic rights. And so remembering that solidarity that we share just on account of our human nature, that is like the very basis of staying consistent.
We had an execution date set about a year before he was actually executed. We got within 8 hours of his execution on that day before he received a stay from the Supreme Court. I know of one exoneree who was completely innocent of the crime, who had 6 execution dates and, you know, was spared each time through different legal means, and eventually was exonerated, and just illustrates the roller coaster that the family goes on, this really damaging emotional roller coaster.
There was this group, September 11th Families for Peaceful Tomorrows, which was a group who lost family members in the attack on the towers. And they were basically adamant that they did not want killing in their names. And so they organized a protest march, I think from the Democratic Convention in Boston to the Republican Convention in New York, pushing this stone monument labeled "To the Unknown Civilian Casualties of War." So we're sitting at dinner and I'm telling my kids about it. And my middle kid, Antonio, goes, I want to go do this.
Even though Consistent Life Network is a secular organization and we're not tied to any faith or, for that matter, political tradition, many people do come to their consistent life ethic by way of their faith tradition.
So I think it takes great courage because often when you are a consistent life activist, you're politically homeless, or at least within the context of traditional left-right politics in North America. And after examining the facts, it really bears the reality of how hypocritical these mainstream parties are and how both sides have their flaws.
There was an election, a new governor from a different party, a completely new system for requesting clemency. In the end, we realized that there was never any intention to do anything with that hearing. They had to say that they had held a hearing, and so they did. We went through a clemency hearing that was just a mockery of justice and a mockery of our family.
And I'm like, you want to walk through the hot September? September.
It was like
August.
Yeah. And he was just middle school. So 10, 11-ish.
Well, we started walking and we got to the rest break and Antonio's like, no, I want to keep doing this. And so we walked another 12 miles in the pouring rain.
But in the end, my father was the only one who received a death sentence.
The third thing really is finding your niche in the movement.
My niche, you could say, is speech and debate and using that, my talents, to accomplish the mission.
So activism doesn't fit with you. You figure out how you fit in with activism.
We get interviewed by the local paper and the reporter's talking to Antonio. It's like, why are you doing this? And he says, well, I want to be a witness for peace. Mind's blown.
In the future, are you going to be offering some trainings, either online workshops or in-person trainings on how to teach CL kids?
That's definitely part of the plan, yeah, because we have a lot of people already who are experts in youth education.
You start looking at the numbers of people exonerated, the number of times that they've gotten it wrong. And the latest numbers, I think there's one exoneration now for every 8 executions. So you imagine that more than 10% of airplanes fell out of the sky when they flew. We would never accept that. We would never accept that error rate and anything else that has to do with life and death. But a lot of society is willing to totally overlook it for the justice system. And to me, that just does not make any sense.
Yeah. Thank you for pointing out those inconsistencies in politics and rhetoric, which is why the consistent life ethic is unique, because it's very, as the name says, consistent across the board.
You can't make that work logically, claiming small government and also claiming to allow the government to have this power.
We start with the idea that life starts at conception as an inherently valuable from conception to the point of natural death. And it's a straight line. At no point should that life be taken away, even if people do horrible, egregious actions like take a life of another person, not justifying that action, but looking at society and saying that society and government does not have the right to kill, which is fundamentally the question. Should our government be able to kill its own people? And I hope that this podcast really asks everyone to examine those questions.
Thanks for joining the Consistent Life Network's Peace and Life Conversations podcast. All links and organizations mentioned in our episodes are linked in the description box. For more information, visit us at consistentlifenetwork.org. We'll see you next time.